CTFxC.com here, and it's part 3 of building a new computer. And we are going to be looking at the processor and the motherboard. The processor is basically the brain of the computer, and it has this like huge fan. We thought it would be big, and it's just this little thing. This is a processor. I'm no kidding. That is a processor. Yeah. So such a little thing needs this huge fan. And
Why does it need a huge fan?
Because it heats up really, really big.
It's very hot.
Because it has to do math a lot.
It does all the math for the computer, and it gets really hot while it does it.
Yes.
Okay. And what's this?
This is the motherboard. We are going to be, which is the connects everything together. It connects everything together, like the power supply that's already in the case. We have the power supply, and we need power for the whole computer. How do they do it? You plug it in the motherboard, you plug everything else into the motherboard, and it works. And the processor goes right there.
Yep.
And then the fan, goes right on top of it, like that. There.
Yep.
So that's what it's going to look like.
That's right.
Except without this.
Without the
on
case.
it.
That's right. Yep. So Presley's exactly right. The processor is the brain of the computer. It does all the computing, which is basically doing a lot of math really rapidly. It plugs in right here. This fan goes on top of it to help keep it cool. The motherboard lets all the different components that you put in your computer talk to each other. As we add more components, we'll talk about how that works. But right now, the power supply that we bought before will plug in right here in the motherboard, and that'll supply power to the processor when we plug it in. It supplies power to the memory, to the hard drive, to all the different things. When the processor needs to talk to the memory, it uses the motherboard to connect. So all of these things talk to each other through the motherboard. And that's basically what we're going through today. And we'll put all this stuff in and maybe take a couple of shots of it all once it's installed so you can see what it looks like in the case. All of these cables that you've seen before, the things that come off of the power supply, the things that come out of the case, these cables make like the power button on the case work, and the lights on the front work, and the USB ports, when you plug those in, they all plug into the motherboard as well, so that all of those things can talk to each other and talk to the motherboard. We'll get them all hooked up and get it looking nice, then we'll take a couple of shots. Anything else, Pucho?
Well, there's one more thing I have to say is that this little gray spot is supposed to be that little gray spot. It just melted. And this part's really cold.
No, that's good to point out because we haven't really talked about this before. So there's a little bit of, you can see this stuff that has melted here on the fan and on the processor. It's a little heat gel that makes the processor and the heatsink and the fan sit together really well, so the heat from the processor goes into that and it cools it really well. Pretty cheap. You can buy a little extra stuff that you can put in there to make that seal work a lot better and make the heat transfer a lot better from the processor to the fan and from lots of different components. This was actually made of diamonds, 7 carats of diamonds in this thing. And the diamonds are non-conductive, so that you're not going to get, there's not a chance that you're going to get some stray electricity floating around. But it's a good idea to put this stuff on the processor once you put it in there and you put the fans on top of it and other things that get fans as well. That's a good point, Preston. Thank you very much.
Bye, and we'll see you when we get something else.